Good evening and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel, folks. It is Friday. I know a lot of you are probably hanging out, having a few drinks, or maybe not. Maybe you're just home watching TV, making it a movie night or a movie weekend. It is September 27th, 2024. The time now is 9:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Eastern Time. Blah, 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 blah. Tonight we're going to continue on our journey on this craziness of technology by the federal government and the agencies. So we left off, let me lower this. We left off on purging and altering memories of human beings. That's a chapter we're on. And this, what they do is they alter the memories, they suppress your thought stream or your thoughts. And the way they do this is in many different ways. One of the ways they do it is, per this book, is that the DOD is now investigating drugs that will purge your memory. Purge your memory. You can imagine how it would be used. They would seduce bright young scientists to work for them and then erase part of their soul for national security reasons, of course. They can be trusted, but no one else can be. This investigation is focused on electromagnetic means, and that's to alter memory and perception, and not drugs that are being developed as you are reading this. So imagine this. Imagine if this technology was used over the entire population, from birth till death. A human would not be motivated to know the truth. It would be a type of behavior modification away from curiosity about cybernetics and mind control. Imagine that. And it could be induced into the average brain pathways over a population. Now, memory decays generally as a function of time, or more importantly, in terms of neural network theory, as a function of the amount of new stimulation it receives. This trick is to distract the mind from repeated focus on the topic and to not allow the target, meaning the individual that they're targeting, to sleep for a couple days in order to prevent short-term memory to turn into long-term memory. Again, they do this, obviously, the torture, their biggest thing that they do, or the biggest, I guess, how do you call it? The training part is to deprive the person from sleeping. I guess by depriving the person from sleeping, they break down the body, they break down the concentration, the cognitive functions. They're more malleable, right? They're easy to manipulate at that point. So one must always keep in mind that the subject experiences of the psychic soldier and the target, while simultaneously comprehending the objective physics of the neurology. Here are the instructions given to the psychic soldiers to erase the short-term memory and alter a previous memory of an individual using cerebral cortex cloning. There will be more on this topic of psychic soldiers training and their trickery later in the book. So 1, sudden forced change of focus using mental distractions. Less time the brain thinks about a topic, less likely it will go into short and long-term memory. Memory decays generally as a function of time, or more importantly, in terms of neural network theory, as a function of the amount of new stimulation it receives over overstimulate the target's brain. This is what they do. They attack you to disrupt your memory, whether it's short term or long term. Then they attack you some more to distract you so you can forget what you were doing. That's very common. This is used, again, in directed energy weapons towards individuals. And then they stimulate you and overstimulate you to make you forget. So the third thing is to alter a previous memory, which is a trick to trick the target into recalling the memory, then slowly morph it into another of your choice. So the new memory stays in the historical recall time frame as the original memory. This is classified in psychology, in the psychology community, as false memory syndrome, which again, it's not really false. Um, who was it that was talking about this? Most of the SRA that they talk about this. The individuals that are usually in this in that industry, the psychologists or the psychiatrists that claim that this is a thing, false memory syndrome, these individuals are Satanists as well. They were the ones that began these organizations. They're part of the federal government. They get grants from the government. So the reason that they have these institutions claiming this is because a lot of the survivors are able to recuperate and heal from the trauma that they experience while either in the mind control programs or under the satanic cult. So they're starting to, gain their cognitive functions back, their memories back, and they're losing the fear of talking. So they created these institutions that claim that there's such a thing as, whatever that syndrome, so they can try and discredit the survivors and the victims of these programs and these cults. How do you like that, Satanist? So the electronic dissolution of the memory, which is EDM, interesting names that they use, biblical names. The electronic dissolution of memory is a CIA program name that utilizes various electromagnetic techniques to fade the memories. So they want you to forget your memories. It involves many of the same techniques as previously discussed, but also includes dream manipulation and hypnotic states. This program is closely related to the RHIC, which is remote hypnotic intracerebral control. This relates to our investigation of the computer science framework of hacking computers and erasing and altering its memory. Now they're talking about the thought stream filtering and suppression. More amazingly, thought filtering and suppression can be done with this technology. Specific memory recall or even new thoughts can be suppressed. This can be useful, for example, in suppressing a nuclear scientist's thoughts to create atomic weaponry. One can think of this technique as being similar to the automated Microsoft spell check, which will correct misspelled words in the fly or on the fly, as one types, or in this case, as one thinks. To erase a computer's memory or filter out the data that comes from the devices or ports, it is easy compared with mind hacking equivalents. Included in the CD, which is the CD of the book, is a code that filters everything that goes on in any program from the keyboard by putting hooks into it. Keystroke loggers use this technique to copy every key typed into a secret buffer for later transmission. Some viruses purposely try to diminish productivity of the targeted computer by introducing a keystroke error every so often, but not so often as to be obvious. Well, we all know now, the ones that are paying attention to these technologies, that this is happening to a lot of people with their devices. Many people that are talking about these subjects or, getting into subjects that many, let's say, politicians or agencies don't want you to talk about. They usually experience problems with their streaming or their memory of their computer or even their computers being zapped. That's a very common thing to happen, which, the military talks about the weapons that can do that. So, brain bioamplification technologies all rely on the same principle that only allow energy or signals to be added to the mind. The reason for this is due to the diode or diodi effect and how iconic heating energy is transformed into an accelerated directional biochemical reaction. The depolarization timing of the neural groups can be phased shifted to a slightly earlier firing event, but on a whole, with this technique, is not significant enough to be used as a dampening signal generator. So, given this limitation, how can memory recall or thought pathways be suppressed if energy can't be taken out of the brain signal through electromagnetic field dampening of the neuron at the moment of the synaptic neurotransmitter release? There are four approaches to get by these limitations. Okay, so they do this by negative association or negative associative conditioning. They also do this by accelerated depatterning. They do it by diversion, and they do it by inhibitory pathway amplification. So, number one, negative association or a negative associative conditioning is executed by simply attaching a negative stimulus every time the recognized brain signal is played in full. Yes, I can attest to this. Yes, this is what they're doing. This leads to what is traditionally called repression. The pain associated with a memory causes the mind to avert all recalls of it. One of the memories, rape, molestation, these two things, rape and molestation, are often events that are repressed. In practice, the CIA and mind hackers use rape scenarios and extreme torture when experimenting with this kind of repression. This is why people who report being abducted by evil aliens and experimented on say that they were often anally raped. And of course, I've never heard a story about them saying anally raped, but I've heard of them, the women, obviously their insides are messed with. And then, of course, some of the women and some of the men talk about, well, it's usually, there's like two abductees that talk about being in a intimate sexual relationship with a hybrid. Like these beings come over and then they have intercourse and then they leave. Let's see here. And by the way, this happens too with demons and spiritual beings. So where was I? Okay, the technique is applied. Okay. So the negative associative conditioning. The abductee by evil aliens and experimented on say that they have often been anally raped. Whether the mind programs just seemed very real to them or whether the events actually occurred cannot be determined by investigators. I can tell you these events have occurred to people. And again, it's spiritual, meaning it's an entity. Usually, obviously the angelic realm is not going to do this. So it's the demonic entities that are violating your energy field. And then the extraterrestrials, the scientists, I call them the scientists, they do this as well. When they abduct people, they penetrate them, they mess with their organs, they mess with their genitals. Again, I've never heard them of having, being anally raped. But I've heard MK Ultra mind controlled victims say, some of the survivors say that there are individuals that were in the program that would dress like, they would dress like Jesus, or they would dress like Santa Claus, or they would dress like a character. an extraterrestrial, and then violate them in every way they could. So I've heard of that from survivors being physically tied down, and then people that are, they seem to be dressed in some type of costume, it seems. Again, they were, and most of these people, the ones that were the military or the agencies were doing these experiments on, they were usually in an area like a base or something like that. Let's see here. So this technique, if applied for positive applications, could save 1 million people a year by very forcefully helping break a smoking habit, for example, or far more than preventing a possible nuclear explosion in a city using the secret spying applications. Two, the accelerated depatterning. By amplifying all the pathways in a host brain, except for the ones that are to be erased or dampened, rely on a basic neurological phenomenon called long-term potentiation, potentiation, and it's called LTP. In LTP, the metabolic cellular changes occur that alter synaptic growth and sensitivity. This is the process that converts short-term memories into long-term storage. By amplifying every pathway except for those to be filtered, the neurons will alter themselves more quickly to both compensate for the overactive brain pathways and accelerate the degradation of other long-term memories or behavioral pathways. This is intuitive based on artificial neural network models, where the most recent input data set causes a fading of the least presented data set patterns. Over time, all memory of the earlier learned patterns will be erased, increased the speed of the brain activity, and a new pattern presentation will accelerate. And this will accelerate the depatterning and memory erasure process. Three, the diversion. The diversion is a psychological technique used by neurological weapons practitioners. Humans have a focus of attention. If that focus of attention is disrupted constantly, one can't learn or remember. This is true. The idea is during remote neural renditions, if the target says or thinks something undesirable, that their mental activity can be redirected, thereby not allowing short-term memory to form. It is often called spot blanking of memory. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. They're trying to do this spot blanking memory thing on me. So I stopped talking about what's in this book. Right now, there are psychics right now watching this, and most likely military personnel watching this, the only 8 people here, that are sending energy so badly, they're trying to knock me off my chair. And it's not going to work, folks. I'm talking to the person that's directing this energy, whoever you are. This is what's going to happen to you. I'm going to let you know what's going to happen. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this over and over, and things are going to start going wrong in your life. A lot of bad things are going to go wrong in your life because I'm not that person. I'm very much protected by the spiritual realm. The Satanists know this. You are going to receive, how can I say, karma? You're going to receive karma in a way that you've never experienced in your life. And every new person that gets on this program and that tries to knock me off my game because I'm playing the game that you guys have set, you're going to be destroyed. And I'm going to make sure that you are destroyed. I'm going to make sure that you are destroyed because you people are destroying millions of lives every single day, and you're doing it for fun. My spiritual people are going to make sure that you all pay the piper. Do you understand me? Do you Satanists understand me? And I'm going to do this every night, and I will call you out every night. You want to play with the energy games? Go, hey, I'm a soldier. I'm going to rip you apart at the end. I'm going to destroy you at the end. And I'm not even going to lift a finger. I'm not even going to lift a finger. The energy realms, the spirits that are on the other side, the entities that are on the other side, the guardians that are on the other side, they're going to make sure that they destroy every single last one of you Satanists. Whether you're in the military or whether you're in the covens, I will make sure that they do their job in protecting me and getting rid of you when the time comes, because you will have that moment come soon. I don't care how powerful you think you are. I don't care how much money you got backing you. I don't care what religion, what cult, whatever. It doesn't matter. You will be destroyed. And my guardians are going to destroy you. Keep on sending your energy. Keep on sending, the people watching me on my Twitter and, or my X account. Keep on sending it. But the words that I'm speaking, I'm putting it out so it will be. The words that I'm speaking and the tones that are coming through are going to reach you. They're going to reach your molecules. They're going to reach your particles. They're going to reach your atom. Every atom that is you is going to be obliterated. Every atom that is you is going to be obliterated. Obliterated. You understand me? I'm just speaking the words and it's going to happen. You're fucking getting on my nerves today. Fucking Satanists. Can't stand these people. Oof. I know God loves everybody, but damn, I ain't God and I ain't Jesus and I don't love everybody like that. I got my personality and I will, man, if you were in front of me, I will wipe the floor with you. I swear, all of you. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're male, female, half breed, whatever the fuck you think you are. I will wipe the fucking floor with you fucking Satanist. Yeah, you got me hot today. Woo! I'm on fire. I gotta exercise these demons. All right, where was I, guys? Okay, diversion. I was at diversion. I got diverted. So, diversion is a psychological technique used by neurological weapons practitioners. Humans have a focus of attention. If that focus of attention is disrupted constantly, one can't learn or remember. The idea is during remote neural renditions, if the target or the person says or thinks something undesirable, that their mental activity can be redirected, thereby not allow short-term memory to form. It is often called spot blanking. So it's a blank state in your memory. The cloner needs to just clear their mind or think of something else very intensely to clone that onto the target, which is not going to happen here. Number 4, the inhibitory pathway amplification. The neural circuits have both amplification and inhibitory pathways. Amplifying inhibitory pathways is the exact opposite of the majority purpose of the mind. Filtering is the function of the inhibitory pathways, and recognition is the purpose of the amplification pathways, although they work in conjunction. The basic idea, in order to manipulate human perception, it involves altering these types of pathways. Memory also works with these pathways. So mapping them out has been a long running goal of the CIA's Science and Technology Division. Improving the memory of the spies or erasing the memory during an interrogation utilizes these pathways. So now they're talking to they're doing an interview with a Canadian in the project, right? A Canadian person that was in the project. The interviewee. During my mental mutilation and experimentation, they were able to make me not be able to mentally visualize people clapping. Interviewer. What do you mean? Interviewee: I mean, in my mind's eye, I could not visualize people clapping with their hands. Every time I tried to imagine people clapping, the people would miss their hands. It was so unnatural that they could alter my free mental space by injecting images of people missing their hands while trying to clap. Interviewer: do you think the experimenters could make you miss certain obvious conclusions, just like forcing images of people missing their hands clapping? Interviewee: that is the only conclusion. They don't want people to think about certain ideas like a thought police. I bet they can even subvert people from asking the important questions. Interviewer: what are the applications that you can think of for this technology? Interviewee: I've given that a lot of thought. I could keep enemies from discovering this technology or nuclear weapons. It may allow political control. It keeps people in a conservative place in human development and allows the CIA to keep increasing their scientific advantage. Now they get into the hacking decision trees, or what is it? I think it's a program or a technique that's treeing. And this is what one of the psychic strategist warfare soldiers said. The quote is, damned if you do and damned if you don't. The idea in mental or traditional warfare is to beat the opponent with every possible move they are allowed to make by the prevailing rules, the prevailing resources, and the constraints. Mental warfare is an exceptionally complex, multi-dimensional game of chess, where the rules of the game are dynamic. This is further complicated because cognitive warfare cannot easily be separated from all other forms of offensive information warfare technologies. And it can't be separated from the techniques or the technologies. If a few of the tools used in psychology or psychological warfare and propaganda are discussed, hold on, guys. Psychographic mapping. So this is the whole tree mapping thing that they do. The decision for tree mapping, population mental chatter, and swarm theory by Rand. And look who the corporation is. Rand Corporation. Theory by Rand Corporation are studies of information flow in the mind and populations. And this is using the rules of the quote unquote sheeple effects to engineer the culture, to engineer your beliefs, to engineer your opinions, and they want to engineer your values. Procter & Gamble is probably the best corporation that studies this for marketing purposes. So neuromarketing is a semi-legal method in the civilian sector. Roughly every 15 years in the US, every 15 years in US history, a new law is passed as the civilians learn about mind-altering technologies and feel that their ephemeral concept of free will is molested. And the whole point is, Dr. Delgado said that our liberal minds we shouldn't be allowed to have free will when he was doing the experiments in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He said it himself. He wanted soldiers. In the future, he said that soldiers would be controlled, generals would be controlled, and they would do as they're told. They're basically zombified. So here he has a note. A couple of authors of this book worked with MIT and Harvard undergrad students in developing different pieces of technology that you are reading about to inform the average person about some of the research of how to control any creature that has a nervous system. We, the undisclosed authors, will explain some of the techniques the reader is legally allowed to know about. So how does it work? There are many frameworks that utilize these frailties of the human psychology, but due to the author's security clearances, we can only tread gently This is not treading gently. What they're saying in this book is not treading gently. But okay, there must be worse things then. So we must tread gently upon the topic, or risk being tortured again by the government who betrays everyone and doesn't stand for the values of their country. As the reader will learn, when psychographic mapping principles are applied to warfare techniques, the quote unquote, the dark angel, the angel of death, reveals itself. So, game theory and what I call super hyper game theory. John Nash was known for the game theory, studied intensely by both academic economics and by warfare strategists. He eventually won a Nobel Prize for it. Yeah, it's you win a Nobel Prize for something this sick. That's crazy. He won a Nobel Prize for it. It is very relevant in the information and cognitive warfare. The basic theory dictates probabilities of a complex game played by rational players. The idea of the course is to swim or find an optimum stalemate. When attacking an enemy in an unexpected asymmetric cognitive war game, the objective is to destroy. It's to destroy the opponent no matter what the rationale move they make. Move towards a tactic signaling a mutual benefit, or trick them into making the obvious move which causes loss. This takes on adage, damned if you do, damned if you don't. These same strategic principles work in trade negotiations, war, politics, economics. And I just want to point it out. I want to point something out. It's not for you, for some of you guys. This is to the guy that's been handling the situation with me. This is to you. You're gonna lose badly. I saw you in a dream, just to let you know. I know who you are. You're gonna lose very badly. And when that day comes, I will dream about it. And I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I saw you. I saw you make the call, by the way. I saw you make the call. So just know that I already seen your face. I know who you are. I know what you're doing. It's your turn now. They passed it on to somebody else. You're not going to succeed. And at the end of the day, everything that you have will be gone. Are you listening? Everything you have, you will lose all your money. You will lose your position. People are going to find out who you are and what you're doing. And then I win, which is usually how it works. Just wanted to point it out there for that, that gentleman that's tied to this program. So the whole point is to destroy the individual, the opponent, the enemy. This takes on the adage, damned if you do, damned if you don't. These same strategic principles work in work in trade negotiations and warfare, in politics and economics. John Nash was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for the economic principles, since no one wins warfare Nobel Peace Prizes. Most innovators never get to see the full gamut of how their innovation can be used for good or evil. But imagine how it works at the individual level with these weapons. The idea is to use the opponent's fears and weaknesses against them. Oh, love it. Oh my God. I feel so bad for the people that don't know that this is happening to them. Man, maybe I should start a website to help some of these people. All right. Let's put this game into context. Into context of one CIA program called Artichoke, which is a program to create plausible deniability, proxy programmed assassins, and the ultimate objective is to discredit the individual, use cognitive trickery to get them to kill another target or another person, and then dispose of the programmed assassin by suicide or somebody else killing them. This is programmed assassin by local authorities or any means possible. One can't hide their guilt and fear from themselves, nor can they hide their reflex of any worries of what can be done to them. This determines the focal points of attack. The techniques to spook and root out fears of the opposition will be discussed later in the chapters on CIA scripts. People have common fears such as death, drowning, burning, pain, financial ruin, sterilization, family legacy, and others. But strangely enough, it often is the small things that create stress in the individual, such as whether they are being watched in a bathroom or what their peers think of their appearance. Financially, uh, financially, ruin is achieved through the subjects investing in research and development to stop their torture or prove it. Additionally, of course, all passwords for bank accounts, alarm systems are known. There are ways to hide secrets from oneself, but most never figure it out, nor would they think of it, due to the surprise attack. So the neurological bidirectional linking war game is unusual in the sense that one can outsmart the attacker nor oneself, especially while being neurologically scrambled or tortured. The advantage is to surprise the assailing team. Oh my God, I'm sorry that I'm laughing. It's just you guys don't understand. The ones that don't know, you guys really don't understand how evil these people are. They're disgusting. It's crazy. It makes me irate sometimes. And eventually they're going to be exposed. Right now you're seeing what's happening with the cults, like Hollywood, Puff Daddy, you know, the trafficking. You're seeing that come out. You're seeing the people that were involved telling their stories now. You're seeing people, I mean, they're keeping it on the surface, but they're telling you what's in the shadows. What's going on with individuals in power. They're telling you. And you're seeing the satanic ritual abuse victims come forward and tell you they come forward and tell you how the programs work, how they were trained, who was involved. They even name names, people that that the public looks up to. You're having more and more victims come forward from the military cults, or that were used by the military cults, to the satanic cults, to the Luciferian cults, to the other pagan cults. They're all coming forward and talking about these particular things that are going on. And it's amazing to see. They're brave to do this. And I am so happy that they're doing it. So let me see. I think I was, here we go. So the advantage is to surprise the assailing team. So for example, in your quest for world domination, you may want to use this capability to incite wars between countries and groups to ensure that they do not form a strong unity. This might be important in oil-based regions, for example, to ensure no monopoly is formed to control this much needed resource. Or, for example, one might want to rid your region of quote unquote undesirable people, such as to weed out this, weed the seed, or so weed out what George Green would call the useless eaters. So weed the seed. And this weed and seed program at the local level and instigate gang wars to occur. Sounds a lot what's happening to the United States, don't you think? The influx of different cultures like they did in Europe, and how I, warned about that, and how they're doing here. What is the reason for the influx of 12 to 18 million known illegal immigrants? What is the reason for that? What is the reason to give driver's license without taking a test to individuals that don't understand our culture and don't understand our laws. We're seeing it. This is one thing I'm going to tell people that are fanatics about their political party. This is your political party is involved in this game. Okay, your political, no matter what side you're on, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, everybody is involved. And we need to talk clearly about this. The influx of individuals from other countries is not by mistake. The acceptance of this was planned out 30 years ahead by the United Nations with the community initiatives. The people were warning about the small community initiatives were meant for this influx of people coming in because they wanted no more borders, right? They're changing the laws, the global laws or the international laws, so there is no borders. That's why they created the European Union. That's why they created the African Union, the Arab, I forgot what do they call it there, but that region. And then Asia was doing its own thing. And then they wanted to create the American Union. There's a reason for this. It's not only the Democrats that are allowing the influx of individuals into the country with no protections, no safety, no integration, no assimilation, a simulation. There's a purpose for that. The government is not stupid. Our military and agencies are not stupid. As you can see, they're developing very advanced 200 futuristic year weaponry. So why are they putting the common person's life on the line without vetting individuals? Providing them with funds, providing them with all the resources that a citizen had been paying into all their lives. It's exactly what it's stating right here. If you want world domination, you have to incite wars between nations, groups, maybe religious groups. This is important if you're doing it overseas, is for the resources, because you want to get your hands on those resources. And then the one that I believe is the largest thing for these Luciferians at the top and the minions that work for them is to weed out the feeble-minded, the low IQ. This is what they would say, right? The feeble-minded, the low IQ, the quote-unquote animalistic types, because only the strongest survive. This is what they think. So they want to weed out the seed from the the lower class, or the weakest ones, the weakest link. And this program at the local level instigates gang wars to occur. The techniques are the same and are scaled from local to international levels. Most naive watchers of television will succumb to the trickery of who the bad guys are or who the good guys are. It is also useful when programming an assassin to choose a target. The actions of the zombified assassin will always be perceived as the lone lunatic, or the lone gunman, or the religious extremist by the majority of the world who are still in the technological dark ages and are ignorant to these weapons. The cloak of anonymity of who is behind the programmed assassin asset is also a plus for plausible deniability. This is like surfing the web with cookie blockers and bouncing from IP address to IP address through independent servers that hide the final destination of that IP address. However, less than a handful of countries possess the technology and reach to do mind hacking this effectively. Now, context switching. Emotions create context of language and behavior. Context switching in computer science means that the programs can run in an operating system with changing parameters, be it physical memory or abstract context space. This concept has a similarity in psychic hacking, which is called shape shifting using brain prints. Brain printing is one of the methods to identify a person and their state of mind or the mind state. There are unique fundamental patterns or pattern differences between human minds, as well as having roughly four states of sleep, trance, paranoia, and alert awake. So, shape shifting is used in split personality spies, and this is in order to infiltrate with believable personality and memory context segmentation. Even a truth telling device can't tell the difference between a personality or personalities. This is how these kinds of mental constructs can infiltrate all security agencies at the highest levels of classification. The context switching in computer science is very related to human context switching. Emotional state very much determines the vocabulary choice, facial expressions, and reactions to all stimuli. Of course, how can a person not react to the stimuli? It's ridiculous. Of course, we're not superhuman. Now, they state that bubbly, happy states are more attractive to other people than depressed negative or negativity, as an obvious example. Emotional control is used to disrupt human networks through negativity, which is derived from torture and mood swings, or help create an artificial political party through positive moods, for example. The emotional state of humans is considered the primitive emotional control system, just like in every animal. In mimetic studies, it is still considered ontogeny, which follows phylogeny, and how humans conscious evolved from their ancestors. Now, speaking of this point, this is exactly what I just did, a few minutes back. The person sending me energy, right? And then I interrupt what I'm reading to tell the person off. The individual, the psychic that's watching my stuff and trying to get me to stop. This is exactly what it's talking about. But it's very difficult when you have, let's say there's one person or two people or five people or a coven concentrating on sending you bad energy, or what we call the evil eye, for those of you that may understand the evil eye concept. But these people have been trained to send out these typical energies or these negative energies, or they've conjured up entities to send to you through black magic or witchcraft to target you, to disrupt you, to stop your thinking patterns or your frame of thought. And then they try to hit you and hit you and hit you with energy. Okay, this is real energy. It's like being hit by someone, except it's coming in an energetic form. They hit you, they hit you, they hit you so you can stop talking. Or they hit you, they hit you, they hit you so you can sound crazy. Or you can sound, or you sound like you're not making any kind of sense. These individuals are engaging in this activity. And what we need to do, which is what I've been doing, is I send the energy right back. I send the energy right back to them. And right now, they're so pissed. I love this. They are so pissed. Folks, I'm going to give you the name of the book at the end. Okay? Read it, buy it, read it, share it with friends. My suggestion to the ones that are watching that are not part of this group, once you read it and you understand what you're reading, give this book out as a Christmas gift to friends, and don't say anything. Don't say, like, don't talk about all this stuff, like crazy stuff. Just say, oh my God, there's this book that's going to blow your mind. It is, the technology in this book is like, wow, like Elon Musk level. Just, this is what you're going to say to your people, okay? When you're going to give this as a gift, if you decide to give this as a gift. It's like Elon Musk level. Oh my God, you're going to freak out. It's like so like futuristic, and we're like working, our government is working on this type of technology, and it's going to shock you. And then just buy the book. Don't tell them anything. Buy the book, give it to them on Christmas or their birthday or on New Year's, and then tell your friends about it if you're not going to give them this as a Christmas gift. You're going to see how quick this is going to blow. You're going to see how quick this is going to affect our government if you get this book out to people. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Everybody's going to talk about it on podcast. They're going to talk about it on their live streams. They're going to talk about it on articles. They're going to talk about it everywhere if you do what I'm telling you. It's gonna cause a worldwide awakening that you've never seen in your life. Oh my God, I feel the energy right now. I'm just like, it's so exciting. I feel this like energy of like, it's like electricity right now going through me. It's great. Okay, so let me continue. So substitutions of the operating system files and rootkits. The BIOS, or the BIOS, is the basic input-output operating system. It resides. Oh, somebody's mad. It resides in programmable and non-volatile memory. Using special codes, the chip's memory can be permanently reprogrammed. This allows the computer to upgrade over time. However, very clever computer hackers can reflash the the, the BIOS with their own altered code without anyone being the wiser. This computer hack can be analogized in the mind hacking world. Imagine the BIOS being the executive and operational segment of the government of any country. The BIOS is never checked for viruses or validity. It is like the military and secret agencies that use national security or top secret, the label, to ensure that they are not scrutinized. If a group of mind hackers can gain access or control of these programs in these unchecked areas, they gain control over the entire system. Presidents of the United States are not cleared. They're not cleared to know about these systems and just end up being puppets or figureheads or vocal pieces. You heard that, Trump? You heard that, RFK? The US secretly control over 130 nations. And this is where we get the shadow government or the deep state. Computer viruses often copy themselves to the boot sector of the disk drives. The reason is that the virus code will be the first program that it runs during the boot process so that it can control everything from that point on, including disabling virus checkers. This would be like mind hacking the president of the United States or his generals or his admirals. More centralized hierarchical and secretive governments. It will be a more secretive government. More easily, a small group of mind hackers can take over those control systems undetected. So spies from other countries that infiltrate a government are equivalent to what computer hackers do to the operating system files. If a computer hacker can substitute required operating system files with their own modified code or their malicious code, that can go unnoticed because it resides in a hidden directory of the files that most users are not skilled enough to understand. These are called rootkits. There is even a mechanism called protected files in the newer Microsoft operating system that looks for altered files in the basic operating system directory. And if it detects one, it immediately rewrites an older version of it over it. I'm sorry. The problem is that the original file can be altered with some hacking so that the operating system will become or will keep forcing the malicious altered file into its own core operating system, even if the user tries to update or repair it. This might be similar to a government agency director that gets thrown out for incompetence or being suspected of corruption, excuse me, and then the next in line being of the same mindset. Or worse, the good director being forced to quit due to corruption around them, and the next in line is the corrupted version. So, hacking input output ports and hacking the five senses and the motor cortex. One of the more common pranks performed on hacked computers is to force speech or music through someone else's speaker to try and embarrass them. Simultaneously, hacking all computers in a network and forcing speech out of them in a repetitive loop has kept many mischievous hackers entertained for hours. It can be performed on a network Unix system with the following code if you have the privileges. It can be done on a networked Windows system using something like, and then blank. These commands basically tell the computer to send a remote execution call on all the target machines to play a specific sound repeatedly, and can be done on certain computers which visit a website or an email depending on security settings. Similarly, if there is a microphone, video camera, or other devices connected to the computer, it can remote control. It can be remote controlled once a system security is breached. The audio ports of humans can be verbal speech for output audio or perceived hearing for input audio or input sound. Obviously, this is one of the most important input ports in human beings for cognitive control using subliminal messages, hypnosis, uh, suggestions, repetitive programming, and secret silent code commands. Here are 5 techniques that have been investigated. 1. The microwave hearing effect. Now, there's 100 different technologies that are microwave hearing effect. There's one called Medusa. If you guys haven't looked into Medusa, there's actually 2 Medusas. One is a technology that is a directed energy weapon that can destroy tanks and planes and probably structures. Because this technology it's over 25 years old. I think it's over 20 years old. And then the other one, Medusa, is a microwave hearing effect or the microwave audio effect, which can cause irritation, affect your. Well, I don't know if the Medusa can actually put voices in your head like the other technologies, but it wouldn't surprise me if it can do that also. But it can play sounds in your cranium. It could debilitate you. It could incapacitate you. It can confuse you. You also have the audio cortex mapping. Then you have the electrokinetic sonic modulation. Then you have the ultrasonic heterodyning. Then you have the plasma sonic waves. And here's another quote. Let's see here. Oh, actually, it's a quote by song lyrics. And it says, "Fools of yet I do not know, silence like a cancer grows." This is part of the song, the Simon and Garfunkel song, "Sounds of Silence." So, "Fools of yet I do not know, silence like a cancer grows, people hearing without listening, people talking without speaking." Silent sound and synthetic telepathy. United States patent, July of 2003. So they have something, let's see here. The apparatus for audibly communicating speech using the radio frequency hearing effect, a modulation process with a fully suppressed carrier and input preprocessor filtering, and this is to produce an encoded output for amplitude modulation and audio speech preprocessor filtering. It's intelligible subjective sound that is produced when the encoded signal is demodulated using an RF hearing effect, which is suitable forms of carrier suppressed modulation, including single sideband and carrier suppressed amplitude modulation with both sidebands present. And then tells you the inventor, which I'm not going to give that to you right now, 2002. And it shows you a picture of how the device works. It looks like the audio spotlight to me. Then you have the microwave ray gun. Again, Medusa, I believe, is one of them. Microwave ray gun controls crowds with noise. A U.S. company claims it built a microwave ray gun able to beam sounds directly into people's heads, like the audio spotlight device. The device, yeah, here they're going to talk about it. The device duped Medusa, which stands for Mob Excess Deterrent, using silent audio. It exploits a microwave audio effect in which short microwave pulses rapidly heat tissue, causing a shock wave inside the human skull that can be detected by the ears. And it doesn't matter if you close your ears, you can still hear the audio in your brain. So a series of pulses can be transmitted to produce recognizable sounds. The device is aimed for military or crowd control applications, but may have other uses. The Medusa involves a microwave auditory effect. This is the other one, which is loud. It's loud enough to cause discomfort or even incapacitation. And this is what one of the representatives for the company that made it said. This is to repel. The repel effect is a combination of loudness and the irritation factor. You can't block it out. The device will work thanks to a new reconfigurable antenna that was developed by a colleague, Vladimir Manason. It steers the beam electronically, making it possible to flip from a broad to a narrow beam or aim at multiple targets simultaneously. He states that the technology could have non-military applications. Birds seem to be highly sensitive to the microwave audio. He says it might be used to scare away unwanted flocks. That's very dangerous, actually, because over the last 20 years, we've seen situations where we've seen birds falling out of the sky. And we've seen that over and over and over. We've seen the videos. I don't know if you guys seen the videos online on YouTube back in the day, where these quote unquote freak events of birds, just ramming into buildings, or, falling out of the sky or ramming to the ground. Could it be because we've been testing these technologies and it's caused them to lose their equilibrium? I suspect it is. So they say that, can be used to scare flocks of birds away. It could also be experimented with transmitting microwave audio to people with outer ear problems that impair their normal hearing. Then you have something called brain damage, the brain damage risk. The Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at the University of Illinois in Chicago says that Medusa is feasible in principle. He has carried out his own work on the technique and was even approached by the music industry about using microwave audio to enhance sound systems. But it is going to be possible at the power levels necessary. Previous microwave audio tests involved very quiet sounds that were hard to hear. A high power system would mean much more powerful and potential hazardous shock waves. I would worry about what other health effects it is having. You might see neural damage. And this is supposed to be non lethal, right? And then they talk about how long it would take to build these devices. 18 months. Back then it was 18 months. Then you have an interview with a spy. The spy states, I worked for Microsoft and other large software companies. My quote unquote handlers told me through the microwave hearing effect, if I did not put a backdoor into their databases and operating systems, that they would kill my family. Okay, so this is a person, an insider that was a spy, the technology was being used to communicate with him, and he was threatened that if he didn't do this in the Microsoft software, his family would be killed. I went to Homeland Security and the FBI, but they didn't care. They just said I was crazy. I never did it, and my family was never killed. I had another friend who told me he told me how easy it was to hack into Wall Street's money networks while he worked for security for them. Again, I went to Homeland Security. They just shrugged me off. It proved to me that either they were part of the downfall of America or something was completely broken if a citizen who comes to them can't get their attention. And they can't get their attention to fix the weaknesses in the system. I don't care anymore what happens to this messed up country. There are too many traitors at the highest levels of command to stop it now. A quiet, different experimental approach is based on electroacoustics. When a suspension of particles is subjected to high frequency sound, which is the ultrasonic waves, the particles are caused to vibrate at the same frequency. If the particles are charged and hence surrounded by a diffuse layer of counter ions, the particle vibration causes some charge separation and generates a measurable alternating electric field. The charge separation arises essentially because the ions are much more mobile than the particles and can respond more rapidly to the ultrasonic waves. The particles lag behind the counter ions, creating a small fluctuating electric dipole. The cumulative effect of many such dipoles gives rise to the colloid vibration potential, the magnitude of which is proportional to the electrophoretic mobility of the particles. Man, could you have made it this more like a common man language? All right, let's see here. Okay, so the mobility of the particles. For basically the same reason, application of an altering electric field to suspension of charged particles generates sound waves and affect known electrokinetic sonic amplitude, which is called the ESA. At this point in our investigation, We have encountered a few different ways to create perceived auditory hearing without actual airborne vibration stimulation to the eardrum. Whoa. Side note, interviewers. Indoctrination into the conspiracy. The interviewer. This is an open interview. What is the most significant part of your story? Answer. I guess this is a victim, right? Or insider. Other than making me into an American Manchurian? Interview. Yes. Answer. I would say during the visual and auditory experiments, I could get messages in white noise on TV and audio. So the audio white noise, where I was the only one who could hear it very clearly. And that was being sent directly to my ears and my eyes only. Interviewer. Can you give me an example? Answer. I would love to. One day during the experimentation, interviewer interrupts. Sorry to interrupt. But for the record, you were tortured, right? Answer. Of course I was. That is part of the indoctrination process. May I continue? Interviewer. Yes, please. So he continues, slightly annoyed, conditioned response. Remember, you asked me for the interview because we have the same alma mater. Interviewer. Sorry for the interruption. Please continue. Answer. One day, approximately 3 months into my training, they contacted me in a way that I still can't explain today. I was trying to sleep after days of sleep deprivation using a rain noisemaker. All of a sudden, I could hear voices coming from the rainmaker as clear as a radio broadcast. It was a woman's voice, but obviously recorded as it kept repeating. The phrases that were almost poetry, as I recall, said something like this: call your governor, ask for the secretary, she'll bring you coffee. Call your mother, talk to Dukakis. Dukakis went to Harvard. Go back to school. Join the astronomy department. I think that was it. It repeated over and over and over for hours. If I got up to walk away, I heard, get back here, in a reprimanding voice. Later, I heard them say that they destroyed Dukakis' campaign for presidency, but they never said why. I can't understand how the technology can do this. Interviewer. I can explain the science behind it. Do you think that sounds sane, or is it part of the modern black magic? Response. F you. You're one of them. I'm sorry for the person that had to experience it and was irritated. Interviewer. Interviewee. So he was asking the question. The interviewer thought that the guy that was interviewing him, the insider, was one of the Satanists. So he told him, F off, F you, you're one of them. So the interviewer storms out indignantly, falsely believing that the researchers of this book were part of the system that has tortured him or her. We will give this interviewee a free copy of our work to show that we were here to expose the atrocities, not to discredit him or her. Torture makes animals and humans distrusting. There are thousands of people tortured in the United States. They become clinically and distrustful of anyone and everyone, as they should be. The interview assessment. Many of the technologies used for this grandmaster neurological trickery requires the sensing technologies one would learn about in space exploration. The quote-unquote secretary in the interview was the international criminal Donald Rumsfeld at this time. The word mother is a term used by the spy industry to mean for whom you work. One can also perform a similar hack to a human mind if one had the right hardware. While the hacking is very different at the software level, the effects are the same. The current systems allow forcing a confession or speech through a human. So that would be like possession. The current systems allow forcing. Often it is interpreted by an objective neophyte as a multiple personality, but in-depth investigation would have no problem finding the CIA and the NSA thorough research in this area of interest. Even the testimony of thousands of mind-hacked government human experiments call this capability quote unquote forced speech. True. But forced speech is an intracerebral control of neural feedback synchronization, not just the perceived auditory subcomponent, which is necessary in this loop. What other applications does audio port hacking in humans serve? Although this is supposed to be a classified top secret project, they release this information by dishonorably and disgracefully experimenting on American citizens. Some would even say treasonously. It has become time, no, excuse me, it has become the time. I don't think that sounds right. Oh, I'm sorry. It is time that we take away some of the influence of these man children. In previous books, we discussed many of the applications of these technologies in the field. A couple examples would be to distract a guard at his post or convey secret messages to a spy. Obviously, the most important capability of mind hacking is to be able to listen and see through the subject's eyes and ears. Yep, that is so true. But before this can happen, the target mind needs to be mapped. The database of the mind architectures is huge, and current estimates say that there are over 30 million minds already contained in the so-called CIA personality database, which is a Harvard psychology professor that told the class where it was located. But this is probably one of the many duplications of the complete cognitive modeling database, since the technology has proliferated to every military arm in some form. This is the perfect lead into the next topic, spyware. So I'll leave it here. Or maybe I should just finish this. Let me see if it goes into another blip, 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 blip. Okay, let me continue because I want to. Oh man, the next part is really crazy. It's not really crazy, but it's kind of like the Matrix. I mean, if you think of the Matrix, the next part is crazy, and I'll leave that for tomorrow. Okay, so the next part here is spyware. One of the top privacy and security threats to computers is categorically called spyware. Spyware comes in many forms, like every other kind of malware. This piece of software collects and transmits information such as internet browsing habits, your keystrokes, your password strokes, logging, or even real-time images of your computer monitor. Some parents install software to monitor their children's web surfing habits. Certain government agencies often illegally use this kind of software to perform investigation on individuals. Political targets have always been a top priority for the CIA for blackmail and for manipulation. The government tried to force a chip to be installed in every computer that would automatically decrypt all transmissions. This would be an example of hardware spyware. Even the Nielsen ratings are collected with permission using hardware spyware of TV watching habits. The internet and the telecom infrastructure have what they call network sniffers, that certain federal agencies are allowed to use at any time. Privacy has always been an illusion, but there are some steps to take to make your computer less of a temptation for traditional hackers. The majority of spyware comes from the Trojan horses. Most freeware is free because they include spyware, which is installed with the useful piece of software without telling the end user. It is usually extremely difficult to remove this kind of spyware. Mostly, the spyware is collecting information from marketing and advertising, and the only damage that is done is from the software chewing up precious CPU and network bandwidth. Other problems that spyware can cause is interference with the proper operation of other software. Sample spyware has been included for educational purposes. Remember, compilation and even unintentional distribution of any of the software included may violate local and federal laws. Be sure to have a safe containment of any computers that you will be experimenting with. Now back to the cloak and dagger technologies of mind hacking. Actually, I should just leave it here. Let me see something. I'll go ahead and leave it here, and then I'll come back tomorrow and we can continue on our exposing of government technologies that are destroying our lives and destroying millions of people's lives around the world, not just in the United States. The next, I guess you can say, chapter that I'll be talking about is how some of this crazy advanced software technology or just technology, how it can record your entire life. Think about this. They can see through your eyes. They can hear your thoughts. They can project thoughts and images into your brain. And now they can record your entire life from a distance, remotely. Remotely. That is fucking scary. It's just imagine you're looking at the screen right now, and let's say you were a target. They can record what you're looking at, what you're listening to. That's fucking scary. That's like some alien for real. I know he says he doesn't believe in aliens, but that's some extraterrestrial shit. Like million-year futuristic technology. You know what? Let me finish it because I'll finish this page and then I'll leave it there. All right, so the cloak and dagger technologies of mind hacking. Information and psychological warfare is often called propaganda when used on the American people, and these techniques will be discussed a little later as more common kinds of mind manipulation strategies are available. The focus of this book is clearly on hold on. The focus of this book is clearly on direct manipulation of the brain using ion heating, resonant and density reading, and cognitive modeling techniques. What is important in the beginning of the mind hack is to identify the ports, i.e., the sensory input pathways. In a continuous bit stream of the consciousness, how can one identify the auditory, visual, taste, touch, and smell input port pathways in the brain? There are several techniques and several unique characteristics of neural firing frequencies and the phases for different parts of the brain that can be used to roughly identify sequences. But the easiest way to begin to identify the input pathways is a correlation from a known stimulus. It turns out that television is the perfect known stimulus for both auditory and visual information. Using a Van Eck hack on a person watching TV or a computer monitor allows both a known visual field and audio source to be correlation with neuronal pathways and firing events. In addition, reading a book provides another way to add more data for word associations and internal vocalizations. In practice, this kind of known stimuli is not fully necessary. Hypothetically, if one had already mapped out millions of variations of minds, one could correlate the information pathways known models. A baby learns to see and make sense of the visual world despite they're missing a feedback mechanism to validate images and objects. So the self organizing information should be obvious. Before our example, we will show how it can be done from scratch. Again, here are two mind hacking approaches. One, autocorrelate and build the cognitive decision model based on known stimuli and process and proceed from there. This is more a methodical approach and might be done stealthier without the target being aware it was happening. Two, grab any patterns and do a simulated search to grow all the known pathways. This brute force hacking approach would leave the target acting bizarrely with all sorts of symptoms of mental illness while it was occurring. All right. I still have just a little bit to go, but I'm going to tell the people that are Christians, if you're a Christian watching this or you're a spiritual person, say a prayer for those that are being targeted because this is really really horrible attacks. And they are not able to stop it. If you're they say that if you become a target, you never stop ceasing to be a target, right? So if you can say a prayer, just a general prayer for all the individuals here in the United States, Canada, or wherever in Europe or anywhere in the world, say a prayer that they somehow are able to be protected from any additional. I know people think that this is not, that saying a prayer for individuals you don't know doesn't help, but it does. Believe it or not, because prayers are thoughts, okay? And they're vibrations. And prayers have a specific frequency. And these people that wrote this book and these people that are insiders, this is what they're talking about. So prayers have a vibrational frequency that filters out into I guess the consciousness, the universal consciousness, or the God particle, or the atom, and it'll flow out like a wave of energy, or a wave. And if you're sincere enough and you're powerful enough in that particular meditation, prayer, or however you do things to send good energy to individuals, it will affect people. It will get to those individuals, whoever they are. And I know this because I've done it for others. I try not to be negative, but when I'm positive, I'm positive. And when I want to help someone or want good things for people, I send out that energy through prayer or meditation. So if you can say a prayer for the individuals that are being targeted, wherever they are, you don't have to know their names. You just, put it out there in the universe. Because a lot of people are suffering, especially when they don't even know what's going on, when they don't even know what's happening to them. It's really demonic what our agencies are doing and what the corporations that get these contracts are doing. It's fucking demonic. Targeting individuals just because you can, because you want to test a weapon, because you have no fucking soul. It's disgusting. And then if you're a Satanist, then I understand. You're about destruction and violation and nihilism. That's what you're about. I get it. You have demons running you. That I get that. But if you're a person that's not thinking past a certain point, and you're just doing it for fun because you have the power, it's fucking disgusting. Not saying that the Satanists are good. I'm just saying a Satanist has a reason for it. But a person that just, wants to play with a new toy and doesn't understand, the ripple effect is no different than the Satanist. All right, so where was I? Pew, pew. Okay, so they grab the patterns and do a simulated or stimulated search to grow all the known pathways. This brute force hacking approach would leave the target acting bizarrely with all sorts of symptoms of mental illness or what looks like mental illness. In practice, the human brain needs to be in a sort of hypnotized state. The two hemispheres become out of sync. It is difficult to know if this is necessary to better differentiate the pathways or a side effect from the hacking. The CIA's program initially was called the RHIC, which is the radio frequency hypnotic intracerebral control. A pulsing tinnitus is usually heard and a flashing seen by hacked targets. This might be a way of controlling the spontaneous firing neurons that can be thought of as a cloaking mechanism for various mental tasks, a way of aligning the target mind paths or pathways. However, remote hypnosis weapons may just have discovered that more control over mental processes occurs when the brain hemispheres aren't double checking their results with each other. And the misalignment is intentional but unnecessary for the mapping process. Once any part of the brain is, or any part of the mind or brain is mapped, a clone can occur or input sensor information can be transformed into traditional digital analogs for display. A famous demonstration of this was done in the 1990s using embedded probes into a cat's visual cortex, which was published in the Neuroscience magazine. The cat's visual field was displayed on the computer screen. The same was demonstrated many decades earlier for the audio cortex or the primitive encoding nerves from the cochlea. As the mapping process proceeds, words and meanings are further mapped from sounds and internal vocalizations. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it here. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit all notification for future live streams and videos. Again, say a prayer for the people that are suffering from these high-tech, irresponsible, demonic technologies. It's not for the betterment of mankind. It's because these people are playing God and they love to destroy and they love to hurt. And especially if you have many of the individuals inside our government that are involved in ritualistic practices, and it's their religion, okay? They're not Christian, they're something else, they're Luciferians. If they have the Luciferian religion, they're part of it, and that's who they believe in, then these weapons are a nightmare and have created hell on earth. Literally. So just say a prayer for them. If you want to support monetarily, you can support me at PayPal, Cash App, Bitcoin, Patreon. The links are in the description. Stay safe. Satanists, keep hating. I'm going to keep talking. There's more in this book. It's all coming out, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye.